from Castle Goring, from Nikki, Aurora, and from me. Well, there has been a lot to celebrate recently, not the least of which is a bit later. I am going to head off to a dinner to celebrate a Russian and Orthodox Christmas. Not because I am, well, you know, my children are Russian, I'm part Russian, and the Schweifert branch of my family is Orthodox, although I'm Catholic. So a large group of my friends and relations celebrate Orthodox Christmas. So it's Russian, Greek Orthodox, Romanian Orthodox, all over the Orthodox world. Christmas is celebrated, so 9 days after. So, you know, the difference between the Gregorian and the Julian calendar. Also, I know an awful lot of Canadians are celebrating because Justin Trudeau resigned. And of course, 6 years ago, tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, Brexit took place. I'm sure one person who's not celebrating is somebody whose name I will not mention, but I gather he's still trying to convince himself that he did the right thing. He followed the road to perdition. Anyway, let us plunge in with all that has been going on in the last few days. I was actually going to do a whole program on Brexit, its consequences, how they screwed up, etc., etc. So much is going on that events have overtaken my plan. So unless you'd like me to do it, and specifically request that I do it, I'm not going to do it. But I could do it on Thursday if you wanted to put in the comments that you'd like me to do it for Thursday. Okay? So, we'll start with what Just Cheryl says. Today we're going to have fun. Lady Colin, I demand you make me a Victoria sponge with love. Just Cheryl, I'm going to make the ordinary something special. I'm going to convert perfectly ordinary things into joy. So remember how well joy worked for Hillary and for Kamala? Of course, when Megsy Baby was taping the show, she was firmly convinced that she was going to be the next United States ambassador to her homeland, Nigeria, because President Kamala Harris, her good friend, who, if she had forgotten how close they were, she'd ring up Gavin Newsom until he accepted the call and remind President Harris that they were such close friends that she had to become ambassador to Nigeria. Well, joy everywhere. So, you'd like me to make you a Victorian sponge with love. Why don't I show you how modest and how sort of contained and how sort of... Why don't I take a leaf out of Meghan's book and let's just do it not only with love, but with adoration. You know, the way I adore H. I just love my H. I love nobody more than H. Well, I do, but I mean, we're not going to tell him that. So, thank you for that, Just Cheryl. I thought I'd read it out because it's fun. Patrick M. Quaid says, Dear Lady C, I so enjoy watching your YouTube channel. Thank you very much. But in regards to Meghan Markle's new cooking show, I feel you are a little too critical of Meghan's culinary skills. I understand she makes an excellent word salad. Perhaps in one of the episodes, Meghan might share her tips and tricks for preparing the perfect word salad. Oh, honey, I just love you. Everything about you. I can think of billions of reasons to love you. Bill, Mr. Gates. Best to you, Lady C. Bewildered in Sydney. Thanks for berating me like that. It's much appreciated. I was a little critical of her culinary skills, wasn't I? Now, she is a cow, that we know. So she obviously is the source of the milk that the mozzarella cheese was made out of. But she had to only open the packet. Then hummus. Now, did she buy that from Whole Foods, or did she get some of the staff to run it up? And of course, poking her fingers in everything. Oh, look at my rings! Look at my rings! I can afford rings! I thought you didn't wear jewelry when you cooked, but there we go. Sorry, Patrick Quaid, for me being so critical. But Caroline says, thanks for your selection of comments, quite hysterical. I selected a lot of comments for the members channel that were very representative. And it's just wonderful how Netflix has kept on the comments before taping this. I checked to see, and the comments are still live, notwithstanding the hysterics in Montecito that are taking place. I want those comments taken down. Everybody's trolling me. I'm the most trolled woman on earth. One chair left eye. I'm so trolled. I just don't understand it. Everybody loves me. Why is it that there are a few hundred people that end up trolling me and all the bots? I need to ask the guppy about that. Oh, I forgot. We're the ones who have the bots. Oh, sorry. Anyway, apparently from other stories, Megs is very angry, saying that Netflix made the trailer from the worst outtakes and will be suing. She wants the series to be delayed from the January 15th opening and wants all the production staff fired and replaced with staff she selects, hoping Netflix will stay strong and keep the comments open. So far, they have kept the comments open. It would have been the biggest mistake of their marketing life to close those comments. Meghan understood in her Instagram that she dare not turn on the comments because she doesn't want, it's like a monster looking in the mirror and expecting to see a fabulous reflection. And when they see the monster, they are furious with the mirror because the mirror got it wrong. Well, there are one or two things. First of all, they are not going to be firing, my understanding is, the marketing team. There is talk of Greg Peters, who has been the CEO since January 2023, who has, I think Ted Sarandos, I gather, has stepped back. Oh dear, is that a good sign? Hurricane warnings, are they ever a good sign? Well, it depends. If you want your house flattened and you can claim the insurance money as long as you have good hurricane coverage, I suppose it's a good sign. Otherwise, I don't think it is. But she has been evidently leaning on Greg Peters and the board has been involved to try to have a new marketing team appointed, and that her new marketing team will come out with a new trailer, and that it's going to turn the situation around. Well, nobody in their right mind would ever believe that that was possible. But you never know what people will do, especially people in Hollywood. So, because some of them actually still think that Meghan is more popular than she is. But my understanding of the situation is that it has nothing to do with Meghan's popularity. It's that Netflix wants to keep in with Harry, because Netflix wants to be able to do more of the Crown, or to have the possibility of doing another series like The Crown, or to delve into other royals. So they don't want to cut them entirely loose. But does that mean that the board is going to go along with this demand of Meghan's? Well, they would be insane to do it. But insane people don't only run the lunatic asylum at times. Sometimes they set themselves up as the chief psychiatrist. So, what is really interesting is that this will coincide with Harry's appearance in the British courts. She's been telling people, according to my information, that Harry's a loser and he's been wasting their money. And she doesn't like the fact that he's wasting their money on this pointless lawsuit. Of course, let's see what happens there, because he has been losing. He has little victories to compensate for the larger defeats. But is she worried that with the negative comments and Harry's lawsuit, and he's going to be possibly stealing attention from her? No, that really makes him a loser. Oh, God, can you believe it? That man's stealing my attention. Oh, and look at how I elevated him from being an ordinary prince into being an extraordinary jerk. Now, that's an accomplishment. I turned him from the most popular member of the British royal family into the most unpopular member of the British royal family. That's an accomplishment as well. But also, mid-January is the fallow season, and that's why Netflix has chosen that time of the year, because Netflix knows that it's not on to a winner, and the only way it can salvage something is if there's no competition. But for some reason, Harry might turn out to be the competition. Markle is okay, GM says. Markle is certainly having a temper tantrum over the negative comments about the trailer. Maybe as a person who made sure her name was attached to the soon-to-be flop, she should have gotten off her butt and reviewed the trailer and decided then that it wasn't good. The worst of all of this is they probably picked the best parts for the trailer and it's still awful. Well, she's been saying, evidently, that they chose the worst. But what I find really mystifying in all of this is Meghan is personally named as the first of the 5 executive producers in the credits. Harry's not a producer. Meghan is a producer. Archewell Productions is listed as the first of the 3 production companies. There is also the Intellectual Production Company and Sony Pictures Television. Now, Meghan has always been a great pace to tell everybody how hands-on she is and how nothing escapes her attention and how she ticks all the boxes when there's a success. Is she seriously expecting anybody to believe that she didn't look at that trailer? And if she didn't, is she seriously expecting people to believe that she is at all professional? I make that point for what it's worth. Let's see if the board is as intimidated as she would like it to be, because so far they haven't been. So far they understand that the one virtue of what's happening is they're gonna get a lot of views from people who want to look at it to have a good time at her expense, because she's the joke. And also, how much rehearsal do you need to open cans and to stick your finger into things that have been prepared, bejeweled hands? How many rehearsals do you need? How many takes do you need? I mean, I've done reality TV, and I can tell you something, that if they do a second or a third take with me, the first is as valuable as the third. And I'm not even an actress, and she's supposed to be an actress. Of course, the fact of the matter is she's an appalling actress, because she's so busy acting that she can't be, and that's the problem. Gigi rules the roost says, I have heard that Megsie Baby stole a bunch of the recipes we see on that trailer from an old boyfriend of hers who is a well-known chef. Well, I think you're speaking about Cory Vitiello. I know because I mentioned it in my book, Meghan and Harry, the Real Story, both the original version and the Persecutors or Victims version, that one of the things that broke up the relationship and that really disillusioned him was when she was busy taking credit for recipes that he had come up with. I think one was, I forget, something, sparrows, spinach, courgettes, some nonsense that I don't even remember what it was now. But what recipes have been shown? I saw mozzarella with tomatoes and olives. I don't recall having seen anything that was cooked, but I'm sure she's done an awful lot of cooking up, and I'm sure that she will have used whatever recipes she has happened upon, and she will want everybody to believe that they are her recipes. She's going to elevate the ordinary and make it something special, the way she has tried to do with herself and failed ignominiously. Laurel Schwartz says, Oh, no, I haven't finished. She Rules the Roost has a second question, which is, dear Lady C, do you know how this $100 million contract with Netflix works? I do. Did they just hand over the $100 million to the dastardly duo when they signed the contract, or is it in dribs and drabs as they make content? If they don't do any more uninteresting content for Netflix and Netflix breaks ties, will Netflix still owe them all that money? Netflix will never be parting with $100 million to them. My understanding is that they came up with that figure because the Obamas' contract with Netflix was worth $100 million. And they had to show that, well, we're at least as important as former President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. I mean, they're just the ex-president and his former First Lady wife. Well, I'm a reigning Duchess and Empress of the whole universe if I have my way. The money, such as it was, would have been paid out for content and for funding the making of whatever the content was. Now, they've come up with three things. They've come up with their life story. They've come up with Polo. And they've now come up with love, Meghan, served with a dash of poison, just so you know I'm still authentic and this real me. Everything has to be dramatic and controversial, and I've got to sue at least one person, or threaten to. It's difficult to know what the exact figures are until Netflix publishes its accounting figures. Then it's possible to discern. But between now and then, it's not. It was several projects spread over 5 years. There have been 3 in 5 years. I don't want to speculate, but I would take a stab in the dark that if they walk away with $15 or $20 million for themselves, they've walked away with a heck of a lot of money. These figures are not totally my own. They are figures that I have discussed with other people. I don't like speculating, and that $15 or $20 million would be a very handsome return on the investment. So I hope that answers the question. And no, they'll be getting no more money when the contract ends. The thing is the contract going to end? Or are Mr. Peters and Mr. Sarandos so desperate to keep them on side because the crown was so profitable, and they are hoping that other royal things will be profitable? And as long as Harry is the 5th column in that scenario, it adds credibility to anything Netflix does. So that is the incentive for perpetuating any ongoing relationship with them. Will it happen? I'm not a betting woman, so. Laurel Schwartz says, one of the victims of the New Orleans attack was Edward Pettifer, the stepson of Tiggy, Prince William and Harry's former nanny. Prince William and Princess Catherine have commented, and King Charles has apparently contacted the family. I haven't seen any comment from Harry. Well, in fairness to Harry, it would be very unlikely that he would not be in touch with Tiggy privately to give his condolences. And it would actually be to his credit that they have not announced it publicly. That would be my take on it. It's awful. He was young, handsome, a lovely guy. Ed Pettifer was his name. A man about town in Chelsea, a really great guy, evidently. It's awful. It's awful for his mother, his father, his stepmother, his sister. It's awful. It's awful. It's awful. It's awful. Tragic. But let's not cast aspersions when none are deserved, would be my take on it. Fee Oz says, the Daily News US just posted a story with Mr. Markle Sr. in which they say he wants to move to the other side of the world to escape the awful drama of being the Duchess's dad. He says, if the story is true, that he and Tom Jr. might relocate to someplace like Southeast Asia, where they can get away from everything and try to have a peaceful environment. Stay tuned. He really stepped on Mrs. Harkle's big cooking program with that announcement, didn't he? Ha ha. Well, I think the two things are coincidental. I don't think that he knew when the announcement from Netflix was going to be made. And I've met Caroline Graham. She interviewed me many years ago, and I have good reports of her. I know the Markles, and I fully support and sympathise with Thomas Markle Sr.'s desire to relocate. And I think he's making the right decision, and I'll tell you why. If he's in Southeast Asia, he's less accessible. He will be in countries where the people are very, very kind. The food is delicious. The way of life is infinitely cheaper than it is in either the United States of America or in Mexico. He has limited resources. He has serious health issues. They have excellent medicine in many of these countries, for instance, the Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, etc. They have wonderful doctors, and the way of life is far gentler, and people are far more relaxed. Also, he hasn't told me this, but my reading of the situation is, as long as he is 3 hours away from Meghan, even though he knows it's not going to happen, a little bit of him can't help hoping that she will one day revert to being the Meghan that he knew in ever decreasing increments for the first 36 years of her life. I understand from him that he accepts the situation, and it's obviously broken his heart. We also all have discussed the tricks Meghan might have up her sleeve, which is awful. And one or two people have made comments along the lines of that maybe he is profiting from the birthday appeal. It was done, and people in their thousands gave to show solidarity for him. And if that has helped in some small way to help him to make a move that I think is constructive, I think we should all be very exultant and on his behalf. So, now, one or two people have also made the comment that Caroline Graham, who's broken this story and has broken other stories, is the original writer of this story that was set up by Jeff Rayner via Samantha and Thomas Markle Sr. and Samantha both believe at Meghan's behest. You know, the story about rescuing his dignity that then before the wedding that created the excuse for Meghan to say she was dumping him, and also caused his heart attacks. He had 2 heart attacks. She was the writer, evidently, who broke the original story, but they have now developed a relationship, and she was put on the story because she is the West Coast American correspondent for the Mail, which has the Mail Online is, I think, the largest website on earth. She occupies a fairly important position, and she actually is a pretty decent person. I know that from my own dealings with her. And, you know, some people don't seem to understand that not everything is nefarious, and that somebody who starts out as a reporter interviewing you or writing a story, and then they end up being supportive of you. It's not about selling out. It really isn't. And I'm not naive, and certainly not where the press is concerned. But people don't seem to understand that there are people in the press who are actually basically decent people as well. There is honour even amongst thieves. And on that note, I will go on to what Karen Markle says. Yet another Markle debacle. It's a flop before it has even begun. It is, isn't it? Everything about this show is grating and annoying, from the kitchen tools that cost eye-watering amounts to Meghan's unauthentic and alienating persona. She is highly unlikable and horrible to have in your personal space. Will she ever go away quietly and live off her earnings? Will she ever shut up? I think we can safely say that Meghan is gonna shut up when Mr. Piggles knows how to fly without my help. And between now and then, she's going to push herself and push herself and push herself on us. And the only thing is, how many more opportunities is she going to be able to be afforded? That's the question. And we will end with what Nicholas Voyage says. Hello, Lady C. Happy New Year. Can you please tell us more about Emma McQuiston? I looked her up as soon as you mentioned her name. Her fashion sense is so elegant and lively. I've read an article where her mother exposes hurt feelings regarding Mrs. Bath. Might it be possible to share more about this family? Blessings to you, Mickey, Aurora, and your two lovely sons. Happy birthday to your son. Please do share pictures of the birthday dinner if at all possible. I do have some, but I'm afraid I won't be able to share them because I think that not everyone who was in attendance would necessarily be happy to have the pictures shared. So, and it wasn't my event, it was my son's event. Some of the people I should think would veer more on the side of privacy than others. So I think I can't, sorry. Well, Emma Bath, because that's what she is now. Emma Bath is the daughter of Susanna McQuiston and a Nigerian billionaire with whom she had a relationship. He was separated from his wife. Susanna and he never got married, but they produced Emma, who was privately educated, is very attractive and glamorous. And I've had the pleasure of meeting Susanna McQuiston, whom I like. And I've been at parties where the Baths have been, but they're not my generation. I mean, I knew Sulin when he was a little boy, but his father was a chum of mine. But I'm a totally different generation from them. So they're not personal friends of mine. Let me put it that way. Her half-brother, Ian McQuiston, who is much older than she is, married Sulin Bath's half-aunt. Sulin Bath's grandfather, Henry Bath, was first of all married to Daphne Vivian and had various children with him. If I remember correctly, there was Alexander, who was Viscount Weymouth and then became Lord Bath and was famous for the wifelets. Then there was Christopher, and then there was Val, Lord Valentine Thin, whose first wife is an old friend of mine, going back over 50 years. And anyway, after Henry Bath's marriage to Daphne Vivian broke up, she married Zan Fielding, and he married again Virginia Parsons, and they had a daughter called Lady Sylvie Thin. And she married Ian McQuiston, who is the much older half-brother of Emma Bath. There's also an elder half-sister, and the family is very well off, and Emma Bath is extremely attractive, extremely capable. She has had, I gather, I don't look at TV and I don't look at shows, etc., but she has had, sorry, Emma's Kitchen, her own show on YouTube for some time. She is the chatelaine of Longleat House, and she has been the chatelaine since her marriage, if I remember correctly, because Alexander, her father-in-law, handed over to Sulin, his son, and then Alexander lived upstairs in a little flat, and Sulin ran the estate, and Sulin ran everything, and Sulin is a very clever businessman, but so was his father. Now, before Sulin got together with Emma, he had a tragedy because I think they were caught up in a fire or an earthquake or something like that, he and his girlfriend and another friend in India, and she died and he survived. And I don't think, of what I've heard, that Emma and Sulin were close when she was growing up. There's a big age difference between them. But they re-met at Soho House, evidently. And, of course, there's a family connection. So they'd have been cozy and comfortable with each other on that basis from the word go. And he was captivated by her. And she is everything Meghan Markle would like to be and isn't. She also has a very rich daddy. So on that note, I'll say, I hope this has been of some interest to you. Thank you very much for listening. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what you would like us to be speaking about. Okay? Thank you so much. Take good care. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and Godspeed. Bye-bye.